Exposed, the spine-chilling truth of the haunted 1967 Apollo mission and hidden alien bases. The neighborhood of Maplewood was supposed to be a safe haven, a picture-perfect suburb where life was predictable and reassuring. But as the sun set behind the trees, Sarah's heart raced. In recent weeks, shadows flickered across the evening sky like dark birds swooping low, and eerie lights pulsed with a sinister rhythm, teasing the edges of her sanity. Positioned at the perimeter of this sleepy town, every creak of her home echoed ominously, stealing away the comfort she clung to for her children, Lucy and Max. Just a week ago, Mr. Thompson appeared at their porch unannounced, wielding tales of the past wrapped in a warm smile. He was their friendly history teacher, but something felt off. Back in 1967, whispers surrounded the Apollo mission, whispers that implied something otherworldly lurking below the surface. Instinctively, Sarah clenched her jaw. The benign image he'd always projected was starting to feel warped. Paranoia built as her children excitedly recounted his stories, unaware of the fear it sparked within her. Lucy and Max ran around the house, full of laughter, but their childish delight turned her stomach with dread. They spoke of Mr. Thompson as cryptic hints about secrets that had been long buried. Buried like the anticipated danger she felt lingering just beyond their front door. Everything felt primed to snap. A cold drop of sweat rolled down her back as she brushed off their wild tales. Yet, a shiver raced down her spine as she remembered the flickering lights. Were they signals? What were they trying to warn her about? Then came the night the power went out. One moment it was dinner, and the next darkness engulfed them. The air felt electric as she rushed to grab a flashlight, her pulse thundering in her ears. They huddled together as familiar sounds twisted into an unnerving cacophony of creaks and whispers outside. When a figure brushed past the window, her breath hitched in her throat. "Stay close," she urged, but the flicker of the flashlight illuminated nothing but the sprawling shadows that danced before them. Suddenly, her kids weren't there. "Lucy!" "Max!" Panic surged, and her voice shattered the air. She stumbled through the darkness, only the beam of light revealing their empty chairs. Frantic, she thrust open the front door. Moonlight spilled across the lawn, casting eerie silhouettes as she raced down the street. Where was everyone? The neighbors she'd once shared coffee with now seemed like statues in their homes, unwilling to answer her frantic calls. The chilling silence haunted her. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Driven by sheer desperation, Sarah's feet pounded against the pavement as she recalled the murmurs she had caught in whispers before, dark and accusatory, creeping through the air. Secrets, dangers, nightmares entwined with the town as past. Racing to the old oak tree, her heart thundered in her chest. Hidden below those ancient roots was a secret door, tempting her closer. What loomed behind it? Could it hold the menacing truth behind the lights? What consumed her children? As the oak's gnarled roots gripped the earth ominously, she knew retreat wasn't an option. The choice stood clear, to face unknown horrors or drown in ignorance, while her children remained lost to darkness. What awaited her beyond that threshold? The old oak loomed larger than life, veins of shadow creeping up its trunk as Sarah knelt, her trembling hands brushing away the disturbed earth. Heart racing, she dug into the cool, damp soil, her fingers trembling with both fear and urgency. Each handful she tossed aside felt like a desperate plea to summon the truth her children had lost. What if the key to their safety lay just beneath her? Then she felt it, a hard edge of wood. Her breath halted. She scraped the dirt away, revealing a small, weathered door, ancient and oddly out of place. Instinctively, she glanced around, the deserted street a testament to her isolation. The air felt charged with an unseen force, thick and suffocating, as if the town held its breath, waiting, watching. She clenched her jaw and pushed the door open. It creaked like a warning, revealing a dim, narrow staircase spiraling down into darkness. A chill shot through her as she peered into the abyss. The odorous scent of earth and mildew wafted up, mingling with a metallic tang in her nostrils. "Lucy! Max!" she called again, her voice cracking. Silence answered, deeper than the void before her. Taking a hesitant step onto the wooden stair, it creaked loudly beneath her weight. Shadows shifted in her peripheral vision. Were they her imagination? Or was something watching? Panic surged, but she pressed on, her determination masking her fear. The air grew colder with each step. Wisps of fog snaked around her ankles, and the darkness seemed to pulse as though the very walls were alive. A distant echo of muffled laughter burst from somewhere below, eerily similar to her children's voices. Her heart pounded in her ears as she hurried down, dread swallowing her whole. At the bottom, she emerged into a cramped room, the moonlight spilling through cracks in the walls, revealing old photographs and documents scattered across a dusty table. She picked up one of the photos. Mr. Thompson, smiling with a group of astronauts. Behind them, a blurred image of strange, angular structures emerged from the ground. Her pulse quickened. This wasn't just about her town. It was about something far bigger, something sinister lurking beneath. Suddenly, the laughter stopped, replaced by a low, rumbling hum that vibrated through the floor. Panic broke once again, this time clawing at her throat. "Lucy! Max!" she screamed, but the hum grew louder, drowning out her desperate pleas. Shadows danced on the walls, elongating into grotesque shapes that crept closer. "Mommy!" A small voice shrieked from beneath the floor, followed by a frantic, desperate scratching sound. She rushed to the spot, her fingers furiously clawing at the dirt. "Hang on! I'm coming!" But the rumbling intensified, shaking the foundation of the room. Pounding, furious drums of noise swelled around her, echoing through her skull. Suddenly darkness enveloped her, a suffocating blanket wrapping tightly around her chest. The last thing she saw was a pair of glowing eyes behind the shadows, watching her with unfathomable hunger. As the world receded, all she could hear was her heartbeat, a steady thud, then silence. What if she was too late? What if the dark secrets buried in Maplewood chose to rise again? A chilling thought slipped into her mind just before it all went black. What lay waiting in the darkness, and did it hunger for her? Could there be a way to save her children after all? Or would they all become lost to the same darkness that had claimed so many before them? Cold. That was the first thing Sarah felt. It wrapped around her like an old, wet blanket, pressing down on her with a weight that stole her breath. She blinked through the darkness, heart pounding in her ears, fogging her mind. How long had she been out? Lucy! Max! The names clawed at her throat, desperate and raw. Panic speared through her, as a horrible realization settled in that she might be alone. The earth beneath her felt alive. She pushed herself up, her palms sinking into the damp ground, gritty with soil and something else, something metallic. The echoes of her children's laughter still reverberated, but now they were drowned in a low, pulsating hum that rattled her bones. She scrambled to her feet, swaying slightly. Instinctively, she rubbed her arms, as if that simple act could ward off the encroaching chill. An unsettling thought pierced the haze. This darkness was not merely an absence of light. It felt like something was here, lurking beyond the shadows. Trembling, Sarah turned, scanning the cramped space. Cobwebs draped like tattered curtains from the ceiling. The walls whispered secrets, and the shadows shifted, a roiling mass that feasted on her fear. Deep down, she knew she had to find her children. "Mommy!" Their voices called out again, this time clearer, more desperate. The sound pulled her closer, urging her forward, deep into a darker corner of the room, where the shadows pooled like ink. With all she had, she lunged towards the origin of their cries, her heart beating in manic rhythm. Her fingertips found a cold edge, something hard beneath the earth. She started clawing at it, and instantly the humming grew louder, vibrating through her hands, through her very core. The sound wrapped her in a suffocating embrace, twisting her stomach in knots. As Sarah unearthed the object, her breath hitched. A small, rough-hewn box emerged from the ground, engraved with strange symbols. One corner was cracked, revealing the contents, a twisted collection of old, tattered papers. She opened it, frantically flipping through the pages, her pulse quickening with every turn. "Project Resurrection," the first line read in a chaotic scroll. Her breath hitched. Fragments of terrifying knowledge floated up like bubbles from the abyss. Each paper was stained with darkened ink, filled with names of the townspeople, and next to them, a chilling series of numbers, dates, coordinates, all leading back to the oak tree. The humming escalated, morphing into an animalistic growl. Shadows coalesced, twisting closer, their whispers now a chorus of malice echoing in her ears. "Sarah," a voice slithered from the dark, smooth and sinister. It wrapped around her heart, familiar yet twisted. "Mommy!" The cry shattered her stupor. In that moment, she felt the urge to flee ignite within her. But she hesitated. What if? The thought shattered under the weight of urgency as the hum grew louder, swirling around the room. Frantically, she shoved the box back into the ground, covering it as if sealing a cursed tomb. The shadows screeched, a cacophony of anger and hunger. "Get back!" she yelled, her voice raw as she began to back away. But the darkness twisted behind her, blocking her only exit. The pulsating growl morphed into something more insatiable, reverberating through her bones. Suddenly she stumbled back, losing her footing, falling inch by inch into the living black. With a surge of adrenaline, Sarah twisted around and fought against the clammy hands of the void, pushing through, clawing her way back to the surface. She had to find them. They were waiting, but were they still alive? A final, haunting whisper echoed, "You should never have come here." Her breath hitched as she took a step back into the maddening shadows, knowing it was now or never. Would she embrace the darkness to save her children, or would it consume her entirely? As the darkness pulsed and closed in, one final thought pierced through the chaos. What had the town of Maplewood really buried below, and who, or what, awaited her return? The world twisted tighter around her, suffocating and relentless. Sarah felt the darkness grab at her legs, pulling her down against her will. The whispering shadows surged forward, eager to consume her whole. "Lucy! Max!" she shouted, her voice cracking, but the echoes of her cries faded into the thick, oppressive fog. In that dreadful moment, fear clawed at her throat, and she realized she could no longer tell where the cries of her children ended and the whispers of shadows began. Was it just her mind unraveling? Desperation surged through her veins. She could not let the darkness take her. With sheer willpower, she lunged forward. The shadows seemed to recoil slightly, as if startled by her determination. Though they were like smoke, they held a weight, a purpose that left an icy trace across her skin. "Mommy!" The voices rang out again, sharper this time, breaking through the gloom. She focused on them, letting their warmth ignite a spark within her, a light fighting off the suffocating dark. Every instinct screamed at her to follow it. Racing against the encroaching darkness, she stumbled ahead, each step a negotiation with fear. Then she heard something. A softer sound weaving through the chaos, the giggle of a small child, sweet and untainted. It resonated with a familiar joy that merged seamlessly with her dread. "Lucy? Mommy!" Help us!" The laughter shifted into panicked cries, sending a fresh wave of adrenaline through her. She pressed forward, urgency pouring from her chest. A strange chill wrapped around her, stronger now, more alive. The shadows were closing in, but she was too close to turn back. Suddenly, her foot caught on something jagged. She fell, slamming hard against the earth, air escaping her lungs in a rush. Panic surged as she rolled onto her back, her heart racing wildly. Around her, the shadows seemed to writhe in delight, honing in on her vulnerability. "Let them go!" she screamed, scrambling to push herself up. Then, just above the ground, she saw a faint glimmer. It pulled her attention like a magnet. With a deep breath, she inched closer, forcing herself to confront the dark and unlocking the knots of her own panic. Reaching for what shimmered ahead, it was a locket, small and delicate. Etched with a design, she recognized a family tree that spiraled elegantly. For a moment, hope flickered in her chest. A part of her wanted to believe that this was Lucy's, that it connected her to her daughter. But as she lifted the locket, its surface turned to shadow beneath her fingers. It absorbed the light, leaving her in a void. The world around her distorted, and the glow of illumination disappeared entirely, replaced by a foreboding presence. "Children," she whispered, her breath hitching as the shadows coalesced, forming shapes, faces whispering, waiting. Sarah's heart thundered as those faces became familiar friends, neighbors, suffering and twisted in agony. Each bore a cold, haunting expression, eyes reflecting endless darkness that clawed for her soul. They beckoned her with crooked fingers, pleading silently as the whispering grew louder, more guttural. "Join us, Sarah, you cannot resist, you should never have come." Her mind raced. Who were these lost souls? What had she uncovered in that cursed place? The ghosts of Maplewood entwined in her memories like vines, suffocating her resolve. All she could think of was Lucy. Max, where were they? "Mommy!" Their voices surged again, punctuated by a trembling, fearful urgency that echoed in her ears. "Hang on, I'm coming!" As she fought against the chains of the shadows, the grip on her soul intensified. The darkness pulled her deeper, amplifying her fear, forcing her to choose between her heart or the cursed fate set before her. And as the noise swallowed her whole, she heard it, a single, bone-chilling whisper flitting through the air, laced with her children's names. Choose wisely in that moment. Terror washed over her as she realized she might already be too late to save them. What other truths lay hidden within these twisted shadows, and what sacrifices would she have to make to find out? The shadows tightened around Sarah, their whispers growing into a cacophony, taunting, teasing, promising sanctuary and despair all at once. The locket slipped from her fingers and vanished, swallowed whole by the dark ground beneath her. Cold dread washed over her as the warmth from her children's voices began to fade, replaced by an icy void. She was losing them, losing herself. Desperate, she pushed against the weight of the darkness, forcing herself to stand. Something shifted in the air, a ripple that felt like a breath behind her. She turned, heart pounding, but saw nothing. Just the relentless gloom stretching endlessly in every direction. "Lucy! Max!" she shouted, adrenaline coursing through her. Each name felt like a lifeline thrown into the obscurity. But all she got back was silence, heavy and mocking. The shadows began to twist again, forming shapes that pulsed with an unholy rhythm. Then a flicker. Just at the edge of the darkness, a weak light shone through. It illuminated a figure, small, thin. Her breath hitched as recognition washed over her. "Lucy?" The figure stepped forward, but it was not her daughter. The child bore a striking resemblance, the same mop of unruly hair, but its eyes were different, emptied of joy, void of the spark that made Lucy who she was. It smiled, but its lips curled too wide, too unsettling. "Mommy," the figure said, a voice like broken glass. "Help us, we're lost." Sarah took a step back, trembling. "What do you mean? Where are you? Where is Max?" The figure tilted its head, laughter echoing from its throat. It was a sound that burrowed into her bones. "They're here with us. Join us, Mommy. We have so much fun now." Terror gripped her. Was this what the darkness had done? Taken her beloved children and twisted them into these mockeries? Rage surged against the cold fear clawing at her chest. "No! You're not my daughter!" she screamed, her voice fraying near the edges. The figure recoiled, the laughter morphing into something like sobbing. "You have to choose, Sarah. Come play." It extended a hand ghostly pale and trembling. Behind it, shadows formed a tendril, snaking around her legs, anchoring her in place. "No!" she shouted, fighting against the grip of the darkness. "Let them go. I will find my children." The moment those words escaped her lips, the laughter faded, replaced by a deep, rumbling growl that reverberated through the fog. The shadows roared, a cacophony that eroded her courage. And then, from the depths of the dark, she heard it again, their voices, Max and Lucy, singing, laughter blending into an eerie nursery rhyme that echoed softly. "Ring around the rosy, a pocket full of posies, it was wrong, so wrong." Her heart raced. This was not the way it was supposed to be. She had to break free. "It's just a game, Mommy," the figure coaxed, its grin widening. "Join us, and we'll never be apart again." With a newfound urgency, Sarah tore her gaze from the figure, scanning the shadows for any sign of her children. She had to resist. There had to be a way out of this nightmare. "Stop it!" she screamed, and before she could think twice, she dashed forward, plunging into the dark, screaming their names. The figure reached for her, but fell back as tendrils of shadow lashed out, cleaving through the gloom. The shadows writhed and roared, angry at her defiance. They clawed at her feet, dragging her down as they hissed words she couldn't comprehend. Eyes flared from the dark, all watching, all waiting. And then she felt it, a sharp pull, a tug at her heart, a reminder of the bond she shared with her children. "I will find you," she cried out, her voice cutting through the dark turmoil. But as she waded deeper into the shadows, deeper into despair, she could feel the boundaries of her reality blurring. The world shimmered with madness, voices intermingling with her thoughts. Suddenly, she stumbled upon a clearing, a break among the shadows. In the middle stood an ancient oak, gnarled and twisted, its bark glimmering in the dim light. Sarah, it was a whisper, a voice she recognized. Her heart skipped. "We're lost." The words came from the tree itself, resonating with a terrible urgency. "Lucy! Max!" she yelled, rushing towards it. But as she reached out a trembling hand, the oak recoiled, churning memories within its branches, flashes of a happy family, of laughter that twisted into screams. Escape or be consumed, the tree groaned, pulling her vision inward, revealing a swirling void of the past, and what could be. In that moment, Sarah realized, her choice lay ahead, buried within the very depths of darkness she had fought to escape. What awaited her on the other side? Only the shadows knew, and the darkness was eager to unveil its price. The darkness convulsed around Sarah, its claws tightening as she roared against the whispers. "I refuse. I will not surrender to you." Her heart thudded violently in her chest, each beat a reminder of her purpose to find her children, to escape this nightmare. The ancient oak loomed before her, its branches twisted like gnarled fingers, yearning to pull her deeper into its nightmarish embrace. But just as despair clawed at her, she noticed movement at its base, a flicker of white, a glimmer of something familiar. "Lucy? Max?" she rasped, breathless and frantic. The ground beneath the oak shifted, revealing a small opening in its roots. A sliver of light spilled through, beckoning her closer. It felt like a beacon in an ocean of shadows. Sarah stumbled forward, Driven by a hope she dared not extinguish. As she neared the hollow, the voices broke through again, sharp and shrill, calling her name, twisting into a chaotic melody filled with laughter that caused her stomach to turn. "Mommy! Come play!" "No!" she shouted, shaking her head furiously. "You're not real. You're not my children." The shadows writhed in response, displeased, a cacophony of growls reverberating from the darkness, as if they knew how close she was to cracking. But there it was again, the whisper, soft and painfully close. "Help us, Mommy!" Her resolve wavered for the briefest second, and in that hesitation, the darkness shifted. Shadows erupted from the ground, wrapping around her legs like serpents, pulling her back, dragging her toward the abyss she had just escaped. With every ounce of strength she could muster, Sarah lunged for the glowing opening in the trunk. As her fingers clawed at the earth, they grazed cold, wet soil. The oak's roots snarled around her wrists, but she forced herself to break free from their grasp. Then she saw faces. Faces in the bark. Eyes. So many eyes staring at her, hungry, desperate. "Help, you must help," they pleaded, a haunting chorus echoing through the trees. They were trapped. Lost souls, remnants bound in this ghastly place. Terror prickled under her skin. What had happened here? What sacrifices lay buried beneath this twisted tree of despair? "No!" she screamed, pulling back again, disoriented by the truth unfolding. "Join us," a voice breathed, slithering into her ears, soft as silk but laced with poison. "We can be whole again." Sarah felt her resolve crumbling. The toll of hope bathed in shadows began to wear her down. Memories flooded her, days spent laughing in the park, evenings cuddled on the couch, bedtime stories that had once patted down the anxiety that now clawed at her throat. "No, I want to do this," she gasped, forcing herself to focus, gathering whatever fragments of courage she could muster. The knot of despair tightened. She was losing herself more with every second spent battling these phantoms. And then she heard it, the soft rhythm of a heartbeat, pulsing in sync with the thrum of the oak. It resonated like a drum, steady and reassuring, reminding her of her own. Her children. They needed her. With a new burst of energy, she surged forward, fighting against the claws of shadow that tore at her skin. "Lucy! Max! I'm coming!" she shouted, plunging her hand into the hollow. The moment she touched the smooth interior, a jolt coursed through her arm. Pain flared, and the world exploded into color. Memories crashed like waves, her children's laughter mingling with the dark whispers. Pictures of joy and laughter blended with screams of terror. Time twisted around her, spitting her into the core of the oak. She was drawn deeper, deeper, a swirling maelstrom of light battling the encroaching dark. She could see it, the tether that connected her to them, fluttering like a candle flame. But a shadow unfurled from the depths, larger than anything she had faced before, a swirling mass that pulsated with anger, eager to snuff out her light. It surged forward, a titan of despair. "Sarah!" it bellowed, the sound shaking her bones. "You will never escape." She barely registered the sensation of icy fingers wrapping around her neck, squeezing tightly as a wave of fear washed over her. The darkness screeched. All around her, shadows became blurs, a chaos of anguish and fury spilling out and collapsing in on itself. In that moment, with her heart racing and breath hitching in her throat, she made her choice. Standing on the precipice of despair, she took a deep breath and pushed deeper into the light. But the shadowy titan followed, angry and relentless, insatiable in its hunger. What truth awaited her at the center? What awaited her beyond the veil of despair? The light swallowed her whole, wrapping around Sarah like a protective shroud. The titan's fury became a mere echo, muffled and distant, replaced by an overwhelming sensation of peace. For a breathless moment, nothing existed except her and the flickering connection that tied her to Lucy and Max. Then, like a cold wind slicing through warmth, the shadows surged into the light. It latched onto her, ripping through her barriers of hope, a gnawing chill sinking into her bones. Abruptly, the brief solace vanished, the world snapping back into focus. She was tumbling through a kaleidoscope of colors that morphed back into the suffocating void. Pain jolted her, casting a stark reminder of her reality. The tethers of light flickered, their bright dance dimming. No, no, no! With sheer force of will, Sarah fought to hold them close. Stay with me, she shouted into the emptiness, her voice swallowed by the swirling shadows. As if answering her call, she caught a glimpse two small figures cloaked in a beam of soft, warm light. It was them, Lucy and Max. Their faces lit up with excitement, sparkling like stars. But the moment felt wrong. Shadows tugged at their edges, fingers creeping into the light, hungry for their essence. "Mommy!" The joy in their voices fractured, replaced by haunting echoes as the shadows began to smother their glow. "Help us!" "Hold on!" Sarah cried, stretching toward them, her heart racing. Panic clawed at her throat. She could almost reach them, feel their warmth. But the Titan surged, arms of blackness snaking around her, tightening like a noose. "Don't let them take you." The whispers pierced her mind. They were countless, voices layered together in twisted amalgamation, enticing yet chilling. "Join us, we can become one." The ground beneath her quaked, and the ancient oak pulsed with rage. Branches whipped out, striking at her, barbs of despair tearing through her skin. A scream escaped Sarah's throat, a raw, primal sound fueled by terror and desperation. But amid the chaos, she saw them again. This time, their faces were twisted with confusion and fear. "Mommy! Please!" The shadows clawed at their eyes, the light flickering dangerously. "Make it stop!" "No!" Sarah's resolve surged. She pushed against the Titan, every ounce of her being aligning to cut the rope of despair binding them. "I want to let you take them." She willed herself to dig deeper to the roots that connected her to this dark absurdity. With all the love she had for her children, she summoned every memory of laughter, every embrace, every moment of joy they had shared. The Titan recoiled. For each fragment of light she summoned, the darkness shifted, an indignant wail filling the air. Sarah thrust her hand forward, feeling the radiant warmth that blossomed deep within, a bright beacon fighting against the suffocation. "Together!" she bellowed, the command ricocheting through the chaos. "We are stronger together!" The surge of light erupted, a blinding flash that drowned the shadows. Faces of the lost screamed in unison, an invasion of despair rushing back like a foul tide. But Sarah's connection grew, pulling at the light around her, weaving it into a shield. As it grew brighter, she could see Lucy and Max again, clearly bathed in warmth that flickered like candlelight, alive. The Titan screamed in rage, retreating, the darkness peeling back, revealing a path, a doorway she had to reach. But just as hope began to bloom, the light faltered. In that split second, shadows lunged back at her, a maw of darkness yawning wide, pulling at her heart, ready to consume everything she held dear. "No!" Sarah screamed, feeling the weight of despair crashing down, knowing she was on the brink of losing it all. What would it take to save them? What lay beyond that door before her, beckoning with a sinister promise? Each heartbeat echoed her dread as the Titan surged once again, claws outstretched, ready to reclaim its prey. The shadows surged in an owl-like howl, thick and frenzied, ready to engulf everything. Sarah braced herself, each breath like a blade slicing through trepidation. She could feel her pulse hammering in her ears, drowning out the whispers of the Titan. Time stretched, and the air grew heavy with dread. In that charged moment, the doorway gleamed like a hope-soaked promise, flickering, yet tantalizing. She knew that her children were beyond it, waiting. Their faces danced in her mind, smiles bright as sunbeams, begging her to break through. "Your love is weak," A voice like gravel ground against glass reverberated through the chaos. You cannot fight what you do not understand. Gritting her teeth, Sarah steadied her breath. I understand more than you think. She focused, heart steadying. The light she summoned was not merely energy. It was the love, the warmth, the laughter that lived in every corner of her memories. It flared within her, bright and untamable. How could it be that love, the simplest, purest thing, could become a weapon? It didn't matter. She had no time for questions. She had to fight. Lucy! Max! She cried into the chaotic tempest. I'm coming! Just hold on to the light. The Titan shrieked, an unholy sound that sent ripples of terror down her spine. You cannot save them. They are already mine. No! Panic threatened to claw its way back into her heart. She couldn't falter now. She stepped toward the doorway, light crackling at her fingertips. But the shadows retaliated, wrapping around her ankles like cold chains, threatening to pull her back down into oblivion. With an anguished scream, she kicked against the dark, pushing forward, her resolve unwavering. Each step was a battle, the cries for her children pushing her onward. They were in pain. She could feel it like fire against her skin. The shadows hissed, slithering, wrapping tighter around her. Each tug of darkness felt like a cold bite against her flesh, a reminder of failure looming in the distance. Together! She shouted again, but this time the word was crackling, electric. She poured every ounce of love, every smile shared, every tear shed into that one word. She felt the connection surge, a tether strong enough to pull her through. And then, the warmth flooded back, momentarily ripping away the icy stings of sorrow. She propelled herself forward, fighting. A burst of blinding white light surged from her core, igniting the shadows surrounding her, prompting the Titan's wailing ferocity. I will not let you take them. A fissure opened, a pulse of bright energy erupted from the doorway, a lifeline amid swirling chaos. It beckoned, bright and passionate, offering sanctuary. Heart racing, Sarah dove through, bursting into the light. But terror struck when she found herself standing alone in a vast emptiness. The doorway behind her flickered, on the brink of closing. And the scream of the Titan roared in the distance, a proclamation of unholy power. Where are they? She shouted, voice breaking, panic blooming anew. The absence of Lucy and Max suffocated her, wrapping around her heart like a leaden weight. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath her. Flickers of shadow coalesced in front, and she squinted, struggling to see. The Titan's voice echoed with malevolence, dripping with malicious glee. They are lost in the void, forever beyond your reach. No! Her scream reverberated in the pitch black, but then a soft light flickered just beyond where the shadows twisted. A flicker, a movement in the gloom. Something was there, something small. But as the shadows writhed and contorted, did she dare believe it could be them? Help us, Mommy, the voice trembled, reverberating in despair, closer and closer. Sarah's heart raced. Was it real or just a cruel illusion designed to draw her in? In that moment, uncertainty screeched louder than terror. Would she confront the Titan head-on to find the truth, or would she fall prey to the shadows, never knowing? With every heartbeat, the choice loomed, dark and oppressive. What waited for her would change everything. No, Sarah's whisper hung in the air, trembling, almost inaudible. Instinct told her to retreat, to protect her heart from what she might find, yet the pull of that small, desperate voice bound her to the shadows. Help us, Mommy, the voice flickered again, dragging her deeper, closer to the edge of that darkness. Shadows shifted uneasily around her, hissing, hungry for her fear. Taking a step forward felt like stepping onto a tightrope strung over an abyss. I'm coming, she called, forcing her voice to stay steady. Each word felt like a wisp of hope drifting through the terrifying expanse. The flickering light grew, revealing a shape not the children she desperately hoped for, but something more twisting, more malevolent. The shadows curled around it, forming an ethereal outline. It was small, but its eyes burned like dying stars. "Mommy," it croaked, its voice now layered with something darker laughter that bubbled like poison. "We're so far away, no," Sarah cried, feeling dread coil tighter around her. She had to believe in them. They were here. Somewhere. Lucy. Max. A tremble rippled through her body at the sound of their names. The flickering shape paused, shadowy features shifting, almost thoughtful. "They are just dreams now," it taunted. "Fleeting, like shadows at dusk." "Stop!" She pressed forward, determination flaring. "You don't know my children. They are more than dreams." "Are they?" The creature laughed, a sound that froze her marrow. "Would they come back to you, if they knew what you've done? What you're willing to sacrifice?" Every word stung, but she couldn't let it through. "You're lying. This is your trick, your illusion to break me. It is truth, a mirror to your soul. How can you save them when you hold the darkness inside you?" It lunged closer, shrouded secrets spilling from its twisted form. Faces emerged, terrified and distorted. Each one bore an echo of her past, the regrets she thought long buried. "No!" Sarah retreated, eyes wide as each face flickered and twisted. Friends lost, lives unwound, haunting echoing laughter surrounding her. The shadows pulsed with life, feeding off her fear, gripping tighter as despair slathered over her like cloying fog. "Sarah," a voice called softly, and she froze. It was a voice that belonged to one she could never forget, a forgotten friend whose presence had faded like a shadow at noon. "You have to let go." "No!" Her heart pounded. "You don't understand. I have to save them. I can't abandon Lucy and Max." But nothing could darken her path more than what the shadows offered her. They twisted around her, thickened with every step, promising revenge on regrets unfaced. The tarnished memory of past mistakes clawed at her throat. "Mommy," the voice of her child broke through the smothering darkness, a siren call amidst the storm. It anchored her, tugged hard at the threads of love woven into her soul. Please, cutting through the confusion, she seized the moment. "I won't let you drown me in despair." She felt her edges thrum with energy, love blasting through fissures of fear. An electric pulse sparked, igniting the darkness, making it shimmer. "They're alive. I can feel them." The shadows recoiled, their laughter turned to shrieks of terror as white-hot light poured from her, spilling into the void, grasping at tendrils of darkness that writhed in panic. The ground beneath her rippled, but behind the light surged the darkness anew, desperately fighting back. "Face the truth," the creature hissed. "Can you deny it? You can't have them." "I can and I will," Sarah roared, feeling everything coalesce, the memories, the love, the anguish. "I will fight for them. I'm not afraid." But still, an unknown force pressed against her, a chilling grasp tightening around her heart. The shadows swirled, creating a vortex of fear, pulling her deeper into a terrible choice. Suddenly, a silhouette emerged from the void, brilliant eyes shimmering amidst the chaos. "Help us before it's too late." It was them, and yet it wasn't he. A new wave of choice crashed over her. Could she trust the light? As the shadows clawed, uncertainty gripped her core. Would she dare step into that beam of hope, or succumb to the terror that sought to consume her? The moment hung thick, ready to break. A freezing gust swept through the darkness, sending a shiver down Sarah's spine. She felt like a tether was about to snap, hanging by the thinnest thread in the face of overwhelming shadow. The shimmering figure wavered again, faint but familiar, a reflection of Lucy and Max that pushed against the cold terror encircling her. "Help us before it's too late." Their voices rippled through the thick haze, pulling her closer, reminding her she wouldn't give in to despair again. This was the time to succumb. History had a way of burying the innocent under brutality, but she had the ability to change that fate. Drawing a deep breath, she gathered her courage, her heart echoing their names, desperately weaving the magic of maternal connection into the fabric of the fight. "Lucy! Max! I'm here! I will find you!" It was like lighting a fire in the void. Her words ignited a warm glow at her core, spreading out in radiant waves, piercing the suffocating darkness. With each surge of warmth, the shadows recoiled, whispering threats that dissolved under her resolve. Sarah felt a pulse of energy, vibrant and fierce, rising to meet her fears head-on. "No more!" she shouted, resolving to reclaim what the darkness had tried to steal. She surged forward, weary legs finding strength anew. The shadows hissed and began to collapse into themselves. "Your hold on me is broken. You can't take Lucy and Max." The ripple of light expanded, illuminating the twisted faces of the lost souls whose echoes had haunted her. They flickered like flames, but also glowed with longing. In that reaction, somehow, she knew they were beckoning her forward. Together, a chorus of spirits screamed, urging her to embrace the fire surging within. And then, in a moment of clarity, she understood this wasn't just her fight. It was a battle for all of them. The shadow that had preyed on Maplewood wasn't merely a physical adversary. It was every unfulfilled promise, every regret that clung like a shadow. Rushing toward the glint of light, her children as shimmering forms struggling against the tide of darkness, she felt their warmth melt into her own. "I'm coming!" She plunged forward as the flickering orb of light intensified, reaching her with pulsing tendrils of warmth. Time warped again, breathing her children back into reality. She latched onto them, holding their spirits close as cold ivy-like fingers clawed for her. "You're safe now," she whispered fiercely, embracing them as they shimmered vibrantly in her arms. Just like that, the darkness faltered, losing its grip, retreating with desperate cries of anguish, curling like smoke before a bonfire's heat. Sarah pushed forward, clutching Lucy and Max, and felt the vibrations of light melding into unity, their love setting her heart ablaze. With each hasty step, they wove together a vibrancy of memories. Summers at the park, chilly nights wrapped in warm blankets, the joyous sound of laughter filling their home. Those bright reminders soared, illuminating their path, until the shadows screeched one last time. Retreating into folds of oblivion. As they emerged into a cavernous light-filled space, the ancient oak behind them stood tall yet calm, like a sentinel finally asleep after a nightmare. The air buzzed with the remnants of a past that almost swallowed them whole, now behind a veil of connection and resilience. With Lucy's little hand in hers, and Max's clutching her other, Sarah turned to the oak. "You won't take anyone from here again," she vowed fiercely, feeling the weight of what had transpired, a heavy yet liberating promise of protection. Around them, a gentle breeze began to play through the branches, a whisper of freedom returning to Maplewood. As they emerged into the waking world, the street lay before them, bathed in the soft rays of morning sunshine. The weight had lifted. No longer would shadows leap out from the corners. "Mommy!" Max exclaimed, throwing his arms around her waist, illuminating the silence as Lucy giggled, embodying the bravest of spirits. Sarah enveloped them, holding on to this pivotal moment. Tears streaming down her cheeks, a mix of relief and affection washing over her like a soothing balm. "Let us go home," she murmured, her voice steady, knowing that Maplewood became safe again because of the unwavering bond they shared. Together they walked, the sun rising over the horizon, casting a vibrant orange glow across the peaceful streets, a promise of new beginnings, a reminder that love, once ignited, could illuminate even the darkest shadows. As they turned to face the old oak one last time, Sarah whispered a soft goodbye. It was a new chapter, one that breathed hope, with memories freed from the chains of despair. "Remember this," she said, her voice firm yet tender, directing her children to look back at the tree. "Never let shadows chase you. You own the light." And with that, they strode forth into their new tomorrow, embracing life as it came. This is where their story finds closure, yet whispers of connection linger in the air. Make sure to remember the power of love, the truth it brings, and the light it casts even in the deepest darkness. Now here's the important part. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your thoughts on this finale and your theories. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Support the channel. Only true fans understand how vital your actions are.